The next morning, she removed her only gold earrings, the last gift Asahan ever gave her. She stared at them for a long moment. Memories flooded in. Laughter, love, promises. Then she closed her eyes and let it go. At the market, she sold them for far less than they were worth, but enough to begin. Time moved, slowly, then quickly. Issei studying under candlelight, her eyes heavy but determined. Ife arguing passionately in class, her voice strong. Ose watching everything quietly, learning, observing. Mama Issei watching from a distance, tired but proud, always proud. First sign of greatness. One afternoon, Issei ran home, breathless. "Mama! Mama!" Mama Issei turned quickly. "What is it?" "I came first," she shouted, holding her results sheet. Mama Issei froze, then smiled, a real smile, for the first time in a long time. She pulled her into a tight embrace. "My daughter!" Tears filled her eyes. "You will go far." Ife crossed her arms proudly. "I will be better than her," she said. Ose smiled quietly. "I will be rich." They all laughed, even Mama Issei. And in that moment, for a brief moment, life felt possible again. Meanwhile, far away, in the city, things were changing. Tite stood in the living room, speaking on the phone. "Yes, sell it," she said casually. "All of it." Asahan walked in. "Sell what?" She turned slowly, smiled. "Your properties." His face hardened. "What do you mean?" Tite stepped closer. "Did you think I came to suffer?" Something in her tone. Something dangerous. "I am leaving," she said. Asahan's heart skipped. "What?" "I am not leaving empty-handed." Asahan's voice shook. "Tite, what are you saying?" She leaned in, whispered, "You wanted a son, but you chose the wrong woman." Then she stepped back, smiled, cold, calculated. "By the time you understand what is happening," she paused, her eyes locking into his, "it will be too late." Asahan rushed toward the door, but outside, men were already loading furniture, documents, everything, gone. He stood there, frozen, powerless, as his world began to collapse. Mama Issei sat outside her small home, watching her daughters read. A soft breeze passed. For the first time, peace touched her face. But far away, a storm was rising. As Mama Issei begins to rise, Asahan is about to lose everything. The wind blew gently through the empty house, but it was no longer a home. The walls echoed, the furniture was gone, the silence loud. Asahan stood in the middle of the living room, his breathing uneven, his eyes scanning what used to be his life. Gone. Everything. His voice trembled. "Tite?" No answer. He walked slowly to the window. Outside, strangers moved freely, men carrying away the last pieces of what once belonged to him. "Stop! That is mine!" he shouted, rushing out, but no one listened. One man turned briefly. "Ask your wife," he said bluntly. "She sold it." The words hit like thunder. Asahan staggered back, his knees weakened, and for the first time, the reality settled in. He had lost everything. Days passed, then weeks. No food, no money, no friends. The same people who once laughed with him now avoided his gaze. At night, he slept on a thin mat in an empty corner, his once fine clothes replaced with worn, faded ones, his voice quieter now, his pride gone. One evening, he sat outside staring at nothing. Then a memory came, Ose's small voice. "Papa, if we were boys, would you smile more?" He closed his eyes tightly. Pain washed over him. "Adesua," he whispered. Too late. It started with a cough, then weakness, then pain. His body, once strong, began to fail him. One morning he tried to stand, but his legs refused. He collapsed, breathing heavily, sweat covering his face. Fear crept in, real fear. I need help, he muttered, but there was no one, no Tite, no mother, no friends, just silence and regret. Days later, thinner, weaker, broken, Asahan made a choice, not out of pride, but survival. He stood slowly, leaning on a stick. His journey began, back to the place he once abandoned, back to the people he once rejected, back to Mama Issei. Years later, the village had changed, and so had they. The doctor, a modern hospital, bright lights, controlled urgency. Issei stood in a white coat, focused, calm. "Prepare the patient," she said firmly. Nurses moved quickly. Her presence commanded respect, not because of fear, but because of competence and heart. The lawyer, a courtroom, silent, tense. Ife stood tall, her voice clear and powerful. "My lord, justice is not a favor, it is a right." Every eye was on her, confidence, fire, purpose. The businesswoman, a modern office, glass walls, city view. Ose sat behind a large desk, reviewing documents, sharp, focused, successful. Her name carried weight, her decisions shaped lives. Back in the village, Mama Issei sat outside a newly built house, simple but strong, like her. She watched the sun set peacefully, her face calm, her eyes fulfilled. She had nothing once, now she had everything that mattered. One afternoon, a figure appeared at the edge of the compound, weak, slow, barely recognizable. Mama Issei looked up, her heart stopped. "Osahan?" Her voice was barely a whisper. He stepped closer, each step heavy, each breath painful. I came," he struggled. Then he fell. The daughters arrived soon after. Issei rushed forward first. Instinct, duty. She checked him quickly. "He needs treatment," she said. Ife stood behind, her arms folded tightly, her eyes cold. Ose remained silent, observing. Asahan opened his eyes weakly and saw them, his daughters, grown, beautiful, powerful. Tears filled his eyes. "My daughters," his voice broke. Ife stepped forward, her voice sharp. "You remember you have daughters now?" Silence. Asahan lowered his gaze. "I was wrong," he whispered. Issei spoke calmly. "Wrong is small for what you did." Ose finally stepped forward, her voice quiet, "But consequences are bigger." Mama Issei stood behind them, watching, feeling everything. Pain, memory, truth. Asahan struggled to sit up. "I have nothing," he said. "No home, no strength, no one." His eyes moved to Mama Issei. "I came to beg." Silence, deep, heavy. "I am sorry." The words were simple, but late. So very late. The daughters looked at their mother. This was her moment, her choice, her story. Mama Issei stepped forward slowly. She looked at Asahan, not with anger, not with love, but with truth. "You broke us," she said softly, "but we did not break." Tears filled his eyes. "You left us when we needed us most." Her voice trembled slightly, "but we found ourselves." She paused, then took a deep breath. "You will not die." Issei nodded slightly. "I will treat you." Ife exhaled slowly, still tense. Ose looked away briefly. But Mama Issei continued. "You will live with the truth of what you did." Asahan nodded weakly, tears falling freely. "I understand." Time passed. Asahan received treatment. Slowly, he recovered, but he was no longer the same man. He was quieter, humbler, changed. He watched his daughters from a distance, pride, pain, regret, all mixed together. The moral. One evening, the family sat together, the sun setting behind them, golden light wrapping around their silhouettes. Ose spoke softly. "Mama, if we were boys, would life be different?" Mama Issei smiled gently. "No, They looked at her. You were never the problem. She placed her hands on theirs. The world just needed time to understand your worth. Issei smiled. Ife looked thoughtful. Ose leaned closer. And in that moment, everything felt whole. The elders say, a child is not measured by gender, but by the greatness they carry within. For the woman who was rejected for bearing daughters raised the very pillars that would stand when others fell, and the man who chased a name lost everything, only to find it again in the daughters he once denied.